industry and social activity, from cell phones to pacemakers and utilities to automobiles. Power electronics and the engineering behind those electronics are very influential in people's daily life. Power electronic reaches sectors such as residential, industrial, commercial, medical, communications, and many other sectors. With that brief introduction out of the way, let me now invite Mr. Vijay Kumar sir, HOD Triple E Department for the welcome address.
Thank you, Ankit. Very good morning to one and all present here for the one-day training program on simulation of fundamental power electronic converters using MATLAB. So organized by Institution of Engineers, Katanglotur Local Center, Department of Triple E Student Chapter. So at this juncture, I am very happy and privileged to welcome all of you for this training session. I extend my sincere appreciation and thank for Balaji and Dominic Savio, the faculty advisor for IEEE chapter, for organizing this training session. I also take this opportunity to welcome the speaker and the trainer for today's program, Dr. M. Kaliyamurthy, Associate Professor from Dr. Mahalingam College of Engineering and Technology. Welcome, sir. I think Kaliyamurthy sir is coming maybe for the first time to SRM to give such a lecture. So I hope that this interaction may further proceed maybe in future to have some collaborative program or some training session with this Mahalingam College. So I also extend my sincere welcome and also my thanks to him for accepting our invitation and to be with us today for conducting this training session. So at the outset, I am very happy because this MATLAB is actually the platform for any researcher or any thing if you want to do simulation or you want to interface with any hardware. So MATLAB will be like just like if you have a desktop or if a laptop, okay, definitely you should have a MATLAB. So only then we can do any type of project or any type of research work can be done only with MATLAB. So without MATLAB, I think it is very difficult to do any real-time studies. So that way, by organizing a training session on MATLAB Simulink for power electronic interface, that is power electronic converters, that is also the need for today's because of smart grid and microgrid. We have to integrate that with respect to the load or to the grid by means of the interface. That interface is basically power electronic converters. Without this power electronic converters, we cannot do anything else. So that way, the power electronics converters play a major role even now in our day-to-day life, like your mobile charger or your laptop charger. So all these things we have this interface, AC to DC converter or DC to DC converter is mainly the power electronic interface. So that way, this is definitely the need for today's for the students. So if you sincerely attend this, I think this will definitely helpful for you for carrying out your project or research. And sometimes, if you are very strong, if you are inculcating the habit of simulating this power electronic converters or anything in MATLAB, this will really helpful for you for your placement purpose also because anybody who is having rich exposure in such type of tools, definitely they have bright future in getting placements. So that way, I hope this session, this training session will be definitely helpful for all the students. So with this, without any further delay, I hope this training session will be useful for all the students. And I wish the faculty advisor and the students to have a smooth conduct of this training session. Wish you all the best. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir, for these precious words. Now I would like to introduce you to our speakers for today's event. So, first of all, we are having with us Dr. C. Balaji sir, Assistant Professor from Triple E Department, SRMST, Katrankulathar. Then we have Dr. A. Dominic Savio, who is also Associate Professor from Department of Triple E, SRMST, Katrankulathar. Then we are having with us Dr. M. Kalyamurthy, who is Associate Professor from Dr. Mahalingam College of Engineering and Technology, Kolachi. Now, I would introduce you to the profile of our first speaker, that is Dr. C. Balaji. So, Dr. C. Balaji has received B degree in Triple E Department from IFPT College of Engineering, Vilupuram, and he has also done his ME degree in Control and Instrumental Engineering from College of Engineering, Gindi, Andhra University, Tamil Nadu, India. He completed his research in the area of power electronics from SRM University. Now, currently, he is working as an assistant professor in Department of Triple E, SRMST, Chennai. He has organized around 10 All India workshops and seminars, and recently he has organized two webinars during this COVID-19 breakout. He has also authored more than 15 technical papers published in journals and conference proceedings. He is a member of IEI, IEEE, IST, and also he is a reviewer in few referred journals. His research interests include multi-port power electronic converters and renewable energy systems. So hopefully we will be learning a lot from Dr. C. Balaji sir. Now I would like to call Dr. C. Balaji sir to take over the session.
Thank you, Ankit. So, this training program, today's one-day training program is having three technical sessions. The first session is presented by me, and this is related to the basic circuit and operation of various types of power converters, and followed by the question and answer sessions. Then the next speaker is Dr. Dominic Savio. He is presenting, here he is explaining about the simulation of DC to DC power converters, and then followed by the question and answer session. And in the afternoon, we have one more session presented by Dr. M. Kalimurthy, and he is simulating AC to DC converters and DC to AC converters, and also few converters published in IEEE journals, recent IEEE journals. Then again followed by the question and answer session. So, in my presentation, I'll start with the introduction to power alternating converters, and then we will see about the types of power alternating converters, that is non-isolated converters, and some special converters, Chook and Sepik converters, and bidirectional converters. Then the various types of converters like DC-DC, AC to DC, DC to AC, and AC to AC converters, and then I'll conclude the session. So the power alternating converters, it means it is a converter. Why it is a converter which is used to control the power flow from source to the load usually, and it uses the power. It uses the power electronic devices or semiconductor devices to control that electrical power. That is why it is named as the power alternating converters, and it is most important in the portable electronic devices, which is used to change the power efficiently from one voltage level to another voltage level. So not only the voltage level, like we can, when you are changing the voltage level from one level to another level, obviously the current will also change. So when the voltage is increased from one level to another level, the current will also change. Not only the voltage and current, we have frequency component also if it is in AC. So the frequency also will be changing. So the converters used to change this power flow from one form to another form or one level to another level is known as the power electronic converters. And why to use this power electronic converters? This is because, see, we know we have different power supplies available. For example, we have AC supply, DC supply. In AC, if you take, we have single phase AC and three phase AC. And in DC, if you see, there are many voltage levels are available, such as 12 volt, 5 volt, 24 volt, and 48 volt, even more than 48 volt, 110 volt DC also they are using in some of the applications. So the source side, if you see, we have these many sources, and the frequency also is an important parameter. Sometimes we need to take the frequency also as a parameter to convert. And if you consider the load side, there are types of loads available. Okay, so this, there is a mismatch between, like, these loads may require different voltage and current values or frequency parameters compared to the, which is different from the source parameters. So in that case, we need to convert that, or we need to transform that source available into the power supply required by the load, into the form that is required by the load. So that is why we are going for this power electronic converters. And how to do this one? Using the switches. Basically, the power electronic converters are operated using the switches only, based on the switching conditions. Like, we have number of switches. It can be single switch or multiple switch, and multiple switches. So based on the switch on and switch off, means on and off of the switches, we'll be getting the power flow from source to load. Okay, so produces these converters produce desired output voltage and current for the load from given input power source. Okay, consider like we have this system. This system we have here, we have a PV panel, and this PV panel will give a DC supply, and the load is also, considering the load also requires a DC supply. And for example, this load requires 24 volt, and the PV panel is producing 12 volt approximately. So in that case, this 12 volt source cannot be directly connected to the DC inside the load, 24 volt load. So in that case, we'll be using this converter here, which is the power electronic converter. And there are types of power electronic converters, and those types are chosen based on many characteristics. The most important thing is the source and load requirements. Okay, so if there is a mismatch between the source and the load voltages or frequencies, then we'll be going for this converter. Okay, so if it is, since it is a DC to DC convert, like this is the PV panel, so we are using a DC to DC converter because the load is also requiring a DC voltage, DC supply. We are using the DC DC converter, but there are other converters also available, which we are going to see in short. And there are many applications similar to this PV application. There are applications with car battery. If you take the car battery will be supplying some voltage, and those voltage may be needed to supply or supply power to the sub-circuits of that car. So in that case, each sub-circuit may require a different voltage level. So for example, 5 volt, 12 volt, 3.3 volt, depending on the electronic circuit uh, inside the car, the motherboard or something, we will be supplying the different voltage sources, different voltage values, powers with different voltages. Okay. Similarly, laptop requires AC to DC conversion, means 230 volt AC is converted into the voltage required by the laptop, that is DC voltage. So solar power system which you have seen here, and there is an example which is mobile, and there is a home UPS. We are using uninterrupted power supply for the home, and in that case it is a DC to AC conversion. DC to AC conversion is there, and it is, in this case, it is called as inverter. Okay, and these power electronic converters use the components like capacitors, inductors, and transformers. So these are considered to be low loss components. And as I told you, the switches are the most important component in the converter, and these switches can be operated in any one of the states, that is on state and off state, and also the switch can be operated with different switching frequency. So how fast the switching operation is performed, that will be the switching frequency. Also, these converters are used to perform step up and step down operations, so that the output voltage will be stepped up and stepped down. Okay, so I told you there are different types of conversions available: DC to DC, DC to AC, like that. So for example, if it is a DC to DC supply, means we have a DC supply here. So this is the time axis and this is the voltage, and we have the voltage as some 12 volt. 12 volt DC is available, and we need to convert, but the load requires 24 volt. Okay, so in that case, we'll be going for one converter, which is called as means DC. It is a DC to DC converter or chopper. So in that here it will be 24 volt. So this is chopper. Okay. Similarly, same 24 volt to 12 volt DC is available, but we need this. But this time we need AC voltage. Okay. So if we need a AC voltage like this, then we'll be using a power electronic converter, which is termed as inverter. And we have, suppose we have a AC supply, and you need to convert this AC into DC. In that case, you'll be using the rectifier. And if you want to convert the AC into again AC, then we'll be going for AC voltage regulator or cycloconverters. So these are the different types of conversions which we can perform using the power electronic converters. So based on the function we need, we'll be using these converters: DC to DC converter, AC to DC converter, DC to AC converter, and AC to AC converters. Okay, in all these converters, we use the switching devices. The switching devices, for example, we can use a diode, or we can use a MOSFET. There are many, means there are variety of switching devices available. And also the power converters can be classified into isolated or non-isolated converters. Okay, so these are the types of power converters available. So in isolated type, we have the isolation between the electrical isolation between the input and output. And since this isolation is required, we are using the high frequency transformer for providing the isolation in the power electronic converters. And the transformer, the high frequency transformers are used for the purpose of isolation, and also the transformer is used to step up or step down the voltage. Okay, so this is about the isolated type DC to DC converter, and these are some of the circuits of isolated converters. On the other hand, we have the non-isolated DC to DC converters. So non-isolated means there won't be any transformer, and because of this absence of transformer, it looks compact. Okay, so that is the advantage of non-isolated converters. So these are the isolated converters, and this is the forward converter, push pull converter, and this is the flyback converter. In all these converters, if you see, we have a transformer here. So this is one transformer. This is a transformer used here, and we have a transformer here also. And sorry, here we have a transformer, and here we have the coupling inductor. So in all these cases, you can see there is no electrical link between the source side and the load side. We have some isolation here. In all these circuits, if you see, there is an isolation. So after understanding all these things, we will start doing the simulation part. So these things are most important if you want to simulate it. So you can see these converters are using the diodes. See, this is the switching device or uncontrolled switch, which is called as diode, and we have controlled switch, which is the MOSFET. There are switches available in this converter. Based on the functioning of switch only, we are getting the required power or the voltage required by the load. And these are the various switching devices we are using. in the power alternating converters. And not only these, there are many other switches available, many other switching devices are available, but here we have shown only few. So this is the diode. Most of you would have known about this diode. Diode is a two-terminal device, and it is uncontrolled one. Okay, this is the uncontrolled switch, and this is the thyristor. Okay, so the thyristor comes with a gate terminal also. So the gate must be supplied so that the thyristor is triggered. Means if you want to see this uncontrolled switch diode, if you are giving a power supply, when the applied voltage is greater than the barrier potential of the diode starts conducting. Okay, so and when the voltage reduces below the barrier potential, the diode stops conducting. So we don't have any other control of this diode for this diode. Whereas this SCR, if you see, we have a control. We can control the turn on time using this gate signal here. Okay, and this is the transistor, and this is transistor also used in power electronic converters. And the transistor operates based on the this operator based on the signal given at the base. Okay, so this is the transistor, and we have three terminals: base, collector, and emitter. Most of you have known this. And this is the IGBT. This is IGBT. So IGBT, we have gate, collector, and base, collector, and emitter terminals. In MOSFET, we have gate, drain, and source terminals. So these are the switches available, or we are using in power electronic converters. As I told you, there are many other switches available. For example, TRIAC is there for converting AC into AC, and we have GTOs. There are many other devices available which are used as switching devices in power electronic converters, which are very much useful in modulating the power, means converting one form of power from one form into another form, or one level into another level. Okay, so now we'll see the circuit and operation of the basic converters, not with much technical details. Just to understand how it operates, I'm going to explain these converters operations and the circuit. So the first converter which you're going to see is a buck converter. Okay, or in other words, it is called a step down converter. It is of non-isolated type. Okay, it is of non-isolated type. And why it is called non-isolated? As you can see here, this is the input side or source side, and this is the load side. There is no isolation between the source and the load. You can see here, there is one common line or common wire from source to load. As you can see, there's a common line or common wire from source to load, which connects source and load one side. Okay, so that is why it is called as non-isolated. There is a direct connection between the source and the load. And now this is the structure of the buck converter. Okay, so how we see the components of the buck converter. We have one source, for example, a 12 volt, as I told you in the previous example. We have we take the 12 volt here, and we have one switch here, and this can be any type of switch which you have seen in the previous slide, but not all the switches are suitable here. We need to we can choose either IGBT or MOSFET or SCR or transistor. The diode uncontrolled means the diode, the normal PN junction diode cannot be used here, but other switches can be used in the buck converter. And here it is shown with the MOSFET. You can see this is the MOSFET symbol. Okay, and now you see this is one diode, and we have one inductor and one capacitor, and the load is connected here. So when the switch is like this is the switching signal. So whenever you are using the power converter, and since the converter is using the switch, this switch must be operated with on and off pulses, or you want to make the switch to on and off, so you're using some PWM pulse like this. Okay, the pulse width can be modulated, and this is called as PWM signal. Okay, and these pulses are used to switch on and switch off the switch. Okay, to turn on and turn off the switch. So now we have the inductor here. Consider like a switch. This is the waveform showing the switch position, switch on and off condition, the voltage drop across the inductor, or voltage applied across the inductor, and the current through the inductor. Okay, now the switch is on. The first state is on state, where the switch is closed. When switch is closed, what happened? The positive, see this plus terminal of the positive terminal of the source is connected to the diode, so the diode will become reverse bias, and it is applied to the power is flowing from the source to load through the inductor, and the load will be getting the voltage. There is some voltage difference which is appearing across the inductor. That is during the on time, you can see here, this is the voltage that is applied across the inductor, and that voltage is applied till D1. See this D1 or D, according to this diagram it is mentioned D here. To avoid confusion, I'm giving 1 here, small mistake here. So this 1, okay, so D1 into Ts, so that is given here. So this voltage will be appearing across the inductor till D into Ts. After that the switch will be kept off, means it is turned off, so that the diode becomes forward biased, so the power will flow in this direction like this. So the inductor, so in the when the switch is on, the inductor stores energy and it supply, and at the same time it supplies the energy to the load also. When the switch is off, this part is disconnected, means source is disconnected from this circuit. So in that case, the inductor, the energy stored in the inductor will circulate the power through this diode. Okay, so in that case, we used to tell like it is freewheeling period, where the diode allows the path for the current to flow through the inductor to the load. Okay, so that is how the buck converter is operated. The same operation can be this buck operation can be achieved using this circuit also. A simple only one switch and one resistive load, means the load here, and this has some disadvantage. That's why you're coming here. And when you are going with this circuit, what will happen? Just simply switching on, switching off, turning on and off of the switch. What will happen? The voltage here will not be smooth, and we have power loss here. Okay, so to avoid that one, what we'll do here, we'll connect one here across this uh, load, we'll be connecting one filter. So in here we have the filter here. So this you can see here, this inductor and capacitor will form a LC filter. Okay, so that is the function of filter here, to avoid the ripples. Okay, and we can find out the gain of this buck converter. The gain formula is derived like this. So finally the gain, the output voltage or the load voltage is D1 into V1, where V1 is the input voltage and D1 is the duty cycle. And as I told you, the PWM pulse width can be changed. Okay, so yes. So coming to the next converter, like this is the non-isolated converter used for the buck operation or step down operation. Now we are going for the boost converter. So we'll discuss about the boost converter now. So as you can see the circuit here, the same number of components are available, but the positions of the switch, diode, and the inductor are changing here compared to the buck converter. So this is one voltage source, the source voltage, the source power source connected, power source is connected here, and this is the load, and we have the filter here. We are using the capacitor filter here, and we have an inductor filter at the input side. Okay, so inductor, switch, diode, and the capacitor connected in this way between the source and the load. And when the switch is closed, what will happen? See, this is the switch closed condition, means switch is on. What will happen? The source will circulate current through this inductor. So inductor is magnetized. So inductor stores energy during this time interval. At the same time, you can see this diode will not be conducting because it is reverse biased. So during that time, the capacitor supplies the load. So load will be continuously supplied by the capacitor. In that case, we need to design the capacitor with higher values. Okay, a large capacitor is chosen such that during this period, the capacitor supplies the load. Now, when the switch is off, this condition, when switch is off, what will happen? The inductor is demagnetized, and see this voltage source, this inductor, and this load. All these are connected and formed in loop. Okay, connected in series. So what will happen? This voltage source or the power source, along with the energy stored in the inductor, supplies power to the load. In that case, we'll be getting a boost operation. So the corresponding waveforms are shown here, and the gain, the output voltage formula is given here. From this, you can find out the gain formula also. What is gain? Output voltage by input voltage. Here, output voltage is V load, and input voltage is V in. So that gain of the this converter is 1 by 1 minus D1. Okay. So coming to the buck boost converter. So in the previous converters, if you see, we can do only one operation. Means either you can do the buck operation using this buck converter, or you can do the boost operation, step up operation using boost converter. Suppose I need to, there are applications where we need to boost and means step up and step down the voltages. Then in that case, we'll be going for the buck boost converter. And this is the circuit of the buck boost converter. See, the same number of components are there, but the positions of the components are changed. You can see the switch comes here, inductor comes here, and diode comes here. Diode also, you can see the direction of diode compared to the previous diagram, previous circuits. The diode's direction also changing. Okay, and see this buck boost converter, how it operates. When this switch is closed, it acts as a short circuit. So this circulates current through this path. So the inductor is magnetized and the inductor current is increasing gradually. And during that time, because of this diode, means this diode is in reverse bias condition, so it won't conduct. It acts as open circuit here. No current flows through this path. And at that time, the capacitor supplies power to the load like this. Okay, and when the switch is off, what will happen? This is disconnected, this path is disconnected, means this circuit source is disconnected from this rest of this circuit. So what will happen? I told you, right, when the energy, when the switch is on, the inductor stores the energy. So the energy stored in the inductor supplies power to the load like this now. So it will come like this. Okay, and one more thing to note down here is this buck boost converter, this circuit shown here is providing a inverted output. Inverted means, you can see this side we have positive and this side we have negative. So the polarity is inverted. Okay, so that is compared to the input polarity. See the input polarity, if you see, this is positive, here it is positive, here it is negative, and here you can see it is negative and positive. That is why it is called as inverted output. But there are many other circuits which many structures for buck boost converter which provides non-inverted output also. And this is one such converter, buck boost converter with high gain, and it provides the non-inverting output. As you can see, this is plus here, this is minus here at the input side, and here at the output side you can see this is plus and minus. And we have two switches here, and two switches, two inductors, and two capacitors and two diodes. Okay, so if you see this converter, both the switches are operated synchronously. Means when this switch S1 is closed, at the same time we are closing this S2 also. So both the switches are simultaneously closed and simultaneously opened. Okay, so these are the equivalent circuit corresponding to switch on condition and switch off condition. Okay, accordingly the power flows from source to load, and it is the buck boost converter. You know the function of buck boost converter, right? Suppose you have 12 volt here. Suppose you have 12 volt at the input side. Okay, so here we have 12 volt. Okay, by choosing this duty cycle, I told you what is duty cycle, right? The pulse we are providing to the gate of the switch here. Okay, so this pulse or PWM signal is having one parameter called duty cycle. Okay, duty cycle, that means on time divided by total time period, or T on plus T off. Okay, so this is called a duty cycle. So this D value, the duty cycle value is ranging from 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Okay, in the buck boost converter, when the duty cycle is below, when D is less than 0.5, then it will act as a buck converter. Okay, step down means this 12 volt can be reduced to some voltage. It cannot be increased. The maximum voltage ideally will get only 12 volt maximum without any loss. We cannot get more than 12 volt, but we can get from 0 to 12 volt. Okay, suppose the D value is more than 0.5. For example, D is greater than 0.5, then we'll be getting boost operation. In boost operation, when the converter is told to operate in boost operation, the minimum voltage we are getting at output is the input voltage. Okay, suppose this is 12 volt. The minimum voltage you are getting at output when this converter is operating as a boost converter ideally is 12 volt. So 12 volt to 24 volt or 35 volt, whatever may be the voltage, that depends on the gain of the converter. You know what is the gain also, right? Gain is nothing but V naught by Vn. This is gain G. Okay, so we have seen the basic DC to DC converters, that is buck converter. This one is the buck converter, this is boost converter, and this is buck boost converter. And we have seen two versions of buck boost converter. This is inverted or classical buck boost converter, and this is the non-inverting buck boost converter. Okay, it provides higher gain also. The gain, if you see the gain formula of this converter is this one. So now I told you about the switches, right? So this is here we have a switch, here we have a switch. I'm talking about the controlled switches, not about the diodes. See these MOSFETs. The MOSFETs are connected here in these circuits. You can see in the boost converter and buck converter, any converter if you see, there are some control switches available. Okay, these converters must be supplied with the PWM signal. I told you this one, right? I told you we need to provide this PWM signal to this switch. Okay, only using this PWM pulses, PWM pulses, we can switch, turn on and turn off the switches. Okay, how to generate this PWM signal? Because all these are important when you're going for the simulation. You must know how to generate these pulses. Okay, so like the in the MATLAB Simulink, we have one block called PWM generator. Ready-made block is available. PWM generator block is there. We can use this block to generate the PWM signals. Otherwise, we can generate our own PWM signal according to our circuit. Okay, we have some flexibility here. I'm not talking about all these details, but basically I want to tell how we are going to generate these pulses. Means I want to finally this type of signal, which is called PWM signal. Okay, how to generate this type of a pulse? What I'll do, I'll take one triangular or sawtooth waveform, and then I will take one modulating signal. Modulating signal can be this like this, or it can be a constant one, or it can be changing also like this. Okay, so I'll be giving the sawtooth waveform as triangular waveform at the input terminal, one of the input terminals of the comparator, and another input terminal is fed by the modulating signal. Modulating signal will be changing. Modulating signal is nothing but just changing our time or the amplitude varying signal. According to this, will be generating the width of the PWM. So these two are compared. For example, I have taken this signal. This is a triangular signal. Or if you want to take the sawtooth, you can take sawtooth also like this. Okay, now I'm taking one more signal, the modulating signal. For example, this is the modulating signal. Okay, now you see, if I'm giving these two signals at the input terminals of the comparator as shown in this figure here, what will happen? See, you can see there are points or intersecting points here, 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 and here. Okay, the signals are intersecting at these points. The same thing is explained here. See, this is the modulating signal. This is the modulating signal, and this is the carrier waveform or the sawtooth waveform or triangular waveform here. Okay, now whenever the signal, whenever I'm 1 minute, yes, whenever this modulating signal is higher than this carrier wave, you can see here in this duration, the modulating signal is higher than the carrier wave. In that case, it will produce one pulse. I'm unable to write properly. Try to bear with me. So like this, you'll get. You can see here, wherever you are getting the pulse, in all these instances, we can see this modulating signal magnitude will be higher compared to the carrier signals magnitude. Okay, so that is how we are getting the pulses. Okay. Now coming to the special converters. So far you discussed about buck converter, boost converter and buck boost converters. And now we have the special converter, which is Chuk converter and Sepik converter. There are other converters also available, but here I'm presenting only about the Chuk and Sepik converter. So Chuk converter is a fourth order converter. You can see two inductors and two capacitors are there, and this is the source and this is the load, and we have two capacitors and two inductors and only one switch and one diode, right? And in the previous converters, if you see in the previous converters, okay, in all these converters, inductors are used to transfer power. Means the inductor in the power transfer, the inductor was a main component. Energy will be stored in the inductor, then it will be transferred to the load. That is how we have done so far. But now in Chuk converter, you can see the capacitor comes into picture. So this acts as the energy buffer. The energy is stored in the capacitor first, and then it will be transferred. So when the switch is closed or when the switch is on, the capacitor stores the energy, and after that, the capacitor releases the energy to the load. So that is how it is operated. Coming to septic, like this Chuk converter is invert, like see it is having the inverted output. You know what is inverted output, right? We have seen in the buck boost, traditional buck boost converter. So here this is plus and this is minus. So inverted output compared to the source side, this is plus and this is minus. And this is having the same voltage gain, which is D by 1 minus D, which is equivalent to the buck boost converter's voltage gain. See, this buck boost converter has a voltage gain of D by 1 minus D. We'll check all these things if needed in the simulation. When you're doing the simulation, we can check it. Okay, so this G is V naught by V in, gain of the converter, which can be calculated by D by 1 minus D. This is the formula for calculating it. So this is the Sepik converter. Again, the number of components are same, but the arrangement of the components here will be different. You can see this side, it is having some different components. There are some special features which are not mentioned here. Okay, and this Sepik converter is providing the non-inverted output, means this is plus and this is minus, and here this is plus and this is minus. Okay, now coming to the bidirectional converter. So far you have discussed about the unidirectional converter. Unidirectional converter means the power flow will be from source to load always. It will be from here to here, source to load. Okay, now in the bidirectional converter, we can transfer power from source to, I mean, from here to here also. Suppose you want to transfer power from opposite direction, that also is possible. So this is the how we are forming a basic bidirectional converter is explained here. We know the boost converter we have seen just now, and we have discussed about the buck converter. Okay, so using these two converters, we can combine, we can synthesize the bidirectional converter, which takes power from, which passes power from source to load, or from here to here, or here to here. In either direction, the power flow will be there. And this is the bidirectional converter. There are some applications where we need this one. For example, a battery. If you are using a battery in any application, for charging the battery and discharging battery, we can connect this converter, which will be very good in charging, working as a charger, working in charging and discharging mode, means step up and step down mode. Okay, the converters can be connected in series and parallel like this. There are applications where we need this one. And so far we discussed about the DC to DC converters. Now we're going to see about the AC to DC converters, that is rectifier. You know what is a rectifier? So rectifier is a converter, which parallel converter, which converts AC supply into a DC supply, AC source, AC power supply into DC supply. And this is the basic circuit. We have AC source here and we have one diode here. As you can see here, the diode is a uncontrolled device. You know what is uncontrolled device? I told you already. Uncontrolled means once it like switching on and switching off, we cannot control as we need. Okay, it is decided by the power available here, means the waveform, the source voltage waveform. Okay, how what is meaning of that? See, when the source voltage starts, say this is the AC voltage you're giving here. Okay, so this is AC voltage. First of all, let me complete this circuit. We have a source here, one diode which is acting as a switch here, and one load. It's connected like this, and this is the uncontrolled rectifier. It's called as uncontrolled rectifier. Also, it is providing the half wave. It is also called as half wave rectifier. Most of you have studied about the half-wave rectifiers earlier. So this is the AC supply you are giving. So this is the AC supply. It has two half cycles, positive and negative half cycles. Consider the positive half cycle is coming. Diode will be forward biased. Only diode will be ready to conduct, but it is waiting for means the diode starts conducting only after this voltage, the applied voltage, is greater than the barrier potential of the diode. For silicon diode, it will be 0.7 volt, and for germanium diode, it will be approximately 0.3 volts. Okay, once this voltage at the input signal is greater than 0.7 volt, the diode starts conducting, and you'll be getting, means the power is transferred from source to load. So the same signal will be seen by the load here, like this one. Now during the negative half cycle, the diode becomes reverse bias, so no power will flow from, means it is it is acting as open circuit, no power flows from source to load. So this is the half wave rectifier. Coming to full wave rectifier, so there are two versions of full wave rectifier. One is using the center tap center tap, another one is using a bridge arrangement. But this is the full wave rectifier with center tap. Okay, so when this arrangement, so this is diode D1 and this diode D2. There are two diodes used, and this is a load. This is how it is connected. When the positive half cycle comes, this diode starts conducting. When negative half cycle comes, this diode starts conducting. They're getting the waveform here like this. And this waveform is called as pulsating DC. It is not pure DC. It is called pulsating DC. Pure DC is something like this. You know, it is similar to a straight line. Okay, so that you should understand. And we may need some filters after this for converting this signal into this signal. So now coming to the half converter. See this circuit and this circuit. Circuit arrangement is same. The only difference is this diode, this device, the switching device we are using is uncontrolled switch here, but here we are using controlled switch. This is the thyristor. It is also called as SCR, silicon control rectifier. This SCR can be controlled. The turn on time of the SCR can be controlled, whereas the turn off we cannot control. And that is like it is, if it is a AC circuit, it will be done by the line commutation. If it is DC circuit, we need to provide the commutation signal for switching off this thyristor. Okay, now anyway, so this gate, you can see here, this is the gate terminal. This is the gate terminal, and by supplying, like when the positive cycle comes, the thyristor is ready to conduct, but it won't conduct. Okay, it's waiting for gating signal. Immediately after the gating signal is given, this thyristor starts conducting. Starts conducting means what? It allows power to flow from source to load this way. Okay, and when negative half cycle comes, it cannot conduct because it is a unidirectional device, so it conducts only power from this side to this side, source to load. Okay, and naturally, as the sine waveform, the input waveform is coming to 0. See, this is a positive half cycle. When it's like we are switching on the thyristor here, means we are triggering the thyristor here. So why it is called as controlled rectifier, a controlled device? See, this turn on time can be controlled. You can see here, this is the turn on time. This turn on time can be given by the parameter called alpha, a triggering angle. Okay, so this alpha value will control the time at which the thyristor starts conducting. We used to call it as trigger. Okay, so when alpha is given, when the triggering signal is given at this instant, okay, at this instant when you are giving this triggering signal, the thyristor starts conducting. Before this instant, the thyristor will not conduct. It will be acting as a switch off only. Okay, so again, after during the negative half cycle, it cannot conduct because I told you the thyristor is a unidirectional device. Okay, so we'll be getting the output something like this. Positive half cycle will get like this, and negative half cycle we won't be getting it. Again, the second positive half cycle will get the waveform like this. Okay, now coming to the half bridge versions of the bridge versions of the power electronic converters, and these are used for the DC to AC conversion, that is inverters. Okay, these are called inverters. You can see here we are using a DC supply here, and we are getting the DC power at the output across the load. So here it is DC and here AC. Okay, and it is 10:55. Okay, so this is the H bridge converter, a half bridge converter. As you can see, the structure is like this, and there are two capacitors here to divide the applied voltage into two halves. Suppose you're giving 24 volt here, the capacitor C, this capacitor will get 12 volt here, and this will get 12 volt here. And when we see here, we have two switches. This is one switch and this is the second switch. Based on the switching operation, means when this switch is on, this will be kept off. When this is on, this will be kept off. You can see here, anyway, that waveform is not shown for the half bridge here. So when this switch is on, what will happen? The current, the power flows from this direction like this. Okay, when the when this switch is on, okay, the current will be flowing this way like this. Okay, now coming to the full H bridge configuration, and here you can see there are 4 switches compared to this circuit. You can see here this circuit has 4 switches. Okay, so we have one capacitor here which is used to make the voltage constant here, means this same voltage here, whatever you are applying here will be applied across the capacitor, and capacitor is charged to this particular voltage. And we have 4 switches, and we have load here. It is arranged in H form, that is why it is called a H bridge. Okay, and when like this converter is operated, or this inverter is operated like this, the diagonal elements, you can see this Q1 and Q4 are operated at a time simultaneously. This Q1 and Q4 are switched on and switched off. Similarly, these two are operated simultaneously. Okay, when Q1 and Q4 are operated, the power flows from A to B. Okay, Q1 and Q4 operated, power flows from A to B. I'll write it here for understanding. A to B, or I'll show the direction A to B. Suppose the Q3 and Q2 are operated, the power will flow in the opposite direction through the load. The current will flow through the opposite direction, in the opposite direction. Okay, these are the waveforms which are not interested now. We'll see these things in the simulations. And coming to the AC to AC converter. So far we have discussed about the DC to DC converters, and AC to DC, we are rectifier, and then DC to AC inverters. And now we are seeing about AC to AC converters. So AC to AC converters are also known as the AC voltage controller. And for this we are using the triac. I told you there are other switching devices also, and here we are using the triac symbol is here, which is the which is using two SCRs connected in the anti-parallel fashion. And when, like I told you, SCR is a unidirectional device, so it will convert only in one direction. Since we are connecting two SCRs in opposite, means anti-parallel fashion, when the positive half cycle comes, one device will conduct. For example, this device will conduct in the positive half cycle direction, positive half cycle, and when the negative half cycle comes, this device will conduct. Okay, accordingly we'll get this waveform. This is the input waveform with the maximum voltage of Vm, sine waveform, because see the AC input and AC output. Okay, and AC input and AC output. And then what is the use of this converter? Then you can see here the AC, the magnitude will change. The magnitude, if you see the output magnitude, it will be variable output magnitude, means variable V naught, but frequency here it will be fixed frequency, but variable magnitude output voltage. Okay, so same operation as I explained you in this half converter with the SCR. So this operation I explained, the same expression can be applied here till the firing signal is given to this SCR's gate terminal. Means here it is a triac, right? So this triac has two terminals, so three terminals. One is MT1, main terminal one, then second one is MT2, and we have one gate terminal. Okay, for example, you take this as MT1, this as MT2, this is MT2, and this is the gate. Okay, so when this gate terminal is gate signal is applied to this triac during the positive half cycle, at this instant, the triac allows the power to flow from source to load. Okay, so that is shown here. Only during this shaded portion, power is transferred from source to load. Here the switch will be in off condition, so no power will flow in this duration. Till means before alpha, the time instant where alpha is when the firing angle, firing signal is given, the thyristor, the track will not conduct. Okay, it starts conducting from alpha and it ends at pi. You can see here the thyristor, the this SCR in this thyristor, the first SCR in thyristor will stop conducting, will stop conduct here at time equal to pi. Okay, that's by a line computation. Anyway, that is not needed now. Try to understand. The SCR stops conducting here when the voltage becomes 0. Okay, again the AC input signal is increasing in the negative direction, negative off cycle comes. So again it will wait for, it means this device will wait for the firing signal, and again the same alpha, see here alpha is applied. For example, here we are applying at some 0.5 milliseconds, for example. After pi it will wait for again 0.5 milliseconds, since the same alpha will be applied here until and unless you are changing the alpha value. Okay, so this 0.5 milliseconds will be, it will be waiting here, means this device will not conduct. After pi plus 0.5 milliseconds, your thyristor 2 starts conducting, means yes, triac starts conducting in the opposite direction, and you're getting this waveform here. Okay, so what you're coming to say, we are controlling the AC voltage. See here, the AC voltage here is having this much magnitude. Average RMS value, if you take, it will be having a different maximum value. You see maximum value is different here. Okay, because of this control here, the value of the voltage, output voltage magnitude will be less. Okay, and this is the device which you are using in the fan regulator. No, right? So we have single phase cyclo converters also, and the cyclo converters are also called as frequency changes, where the here we have fixed frequency AC signal. Okay, and in the output your frequency will also be changing, variable frequency. Okay, so with this I'll complete my presentation, and so far we have discussed about the Paraltonic converters that is used in many applications. In general, the converters can be divided into four classifications, four types: DC to DC, DC to AC, AC to AC converter, and AC to DC converters. Okay, so and then we have seen unidirectional converter, bidirectional converter. While I was explaining, I told you about unidirectional, bidirectional converters, and also we have discussed about non-isolated and isolated converters, and we have seen one bidirectional converter also in this discussion. Okay, if you have any questions, I'll complete my session here. If you have any questions, you can pose the questions in the chat window so that I will answer.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would request the participants that if they are having any questions, they can write in the chat box so that I can forward it to Balaji, sir. So, if you are having any questions, you can type it in the chat box. Sir, I don't think anyone is having any questions.
Okay,
Can
Ankit, yeah, Ankit.
yes, sir.
we can have some 15 minutes break before the next session starts. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes.
No issue.
Yes. If there are no doubts, I'll complete my session. One minute. Yeah, we can start the next session by 11:20.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. I request the participants to join by 11:20. Yeah, Ankit, you can proceed.
Sir, can you make Rahul the co-host? He will be taking over the
Yeah. Has he
proceedings
joined?
now.
Has he joined?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He has joined.
Yeah, I'll make it. Yeah, thank you.